This call is being recorded.
Hello?
Hi.
Hi, how are you? Pardon my voice, I'm still a little hoarse. I had a bug over the past couple of weeks. Took my voice completely away, but now it's coming back.
Okay.
How are you doing?
I'm all right.
Well, that's good. I hope you had a good Thanksgiving weekend so far.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go around in a bunch of different things, some old, some new, clear up a few things. One is your dad mentioned in one of the email notes, I guess, about the stay in Jingdezhen, about the zoo trip and tiger petting. Could you tell me a little more about that?
What happened is it was like a day off from about the 2 weeks we went there. And it was just like our break day. So we went to the zoo. There wasn't like a lot of animals. It was kind of just there was probably some birds and that's it. But there's this cage, and there was like a sign that had a picture of a person in the cage with a tiger petting it. And there was no tiger in there that day, but yeah.
Oh, so you didn't get to pet a tiger?
No, and I frankly didn't want to.
Yeah, that was sort of, I did some research in Jingdezhen. They had sort of a park with animals. I guess that was what you went to.
Yeah.
Was it out on the outskirts of the town? Or is it nearby?
I don't really remember.
But it was, you didn't pet any birds, I take it?
No, I didn't pet any birds.
And now I have to tell you, in my notes, sometimes you write notes and you don't remember what they were about. Plastic filaments. What would I have written that down for?
When was it?
I don't know. I have various notes from all these different sources, and sometimes I just write down keywords so I'll remember, and then sometimes, I'm afraid this time, I don't remember what my keywords were about. I just wrote down plastic filaments. Well, it can't have been that important. Okay, we're going to go over some really old stuff first, and I want to concentrate on the White House today. I'm writing around. I'm not writing totally I've written sort of in chronological order, but I'm also writing sections ahead to blend in, depending on what I have. And
okay.
So I'll be all over the map. I hope I'm not too confusing. Way back when you made the very first cup and handed it to your grandpa, he basically just said, thank you. Did you say anything else? Again, forgive me, I ask the same question again and again, different ways over time, because that sort of helps people remember, or it may not be rememberable, so whatever.
I honestly don't really remember.
Well, he must have said thank you. People always say thank you when you hand something, and that would be sufficient. I'm scrolling through my notes here before we get to the White House. Now, what I could use from you were, if there are your friend from Wisconsin, you didn't remember his name or his first name? When you were at the studio, Yanjun Wake Studio in Jingdezhen. That fellow, young Potter from Wisconsin who befriended you, you don't remember his first name? I think I'm worried your dad, too. He might remember it because you both work with him. But he sort of showed you how to go from what you yourself call handmade lumpy samples into finer, more refined designs. Were there any surprises, things you learned that were surprising to you about how to do that, or did you sort of have an idea of how it was done, or he spent some time with you to do that, I guess?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I learned that there are like certain tools that you use to make it smoother.
Mm-hmm. Are they tools you had seen before, or are there some tools that were new to you?
Some of them I've seen before, but were used differently.
Can you think of an example of that, or anything about the tools? Because I don't know anything about how to make lumpy handmade samples into finer designs either.
Yeah, it was. I remember there was this one where it was like this oval shaped, and it was like a thin it was like a thin like bendy metal, and like you used it to like smooth like things out on the wheel, I think.
Oh, just like an oval, like an egg, oval, like shaped like an egg, or shaped like a.
It was like actually I think it was like a bean, honestly.
A bean, okay. But how big? How big was it? 3 or 4 inches big, or that kind of thing?
Uh, mm, I'd say like 3 maybe.
Mhm. And it was made out of metal.
Well, yes, I'm assuming it was. It was shiny,
That was.
so.
And you use that to smooth the prototype while it's on the wheel.
Yeah,
Okay.
like to smooth out like bowls and things like things on the wheel.
Mm-hmm. Did it have a name, or do you just say, "Hand me that thing"?
I have no idea what it's called.
Okay. Now, I've been through the. Oh, and this may be for your father. I'm not sure who came up with it, but in your crowdfunding video, we're jumping around. I'm sorry again. My knowledge of popular music is not so hot. There was musical accompaniment to when you or your dad weren't speaking, and there were just pictures of things. There was music run to it. Do you know what the music was?
The music to what again? I'm sorry.
To the Kickstarter video. The first Kickstarter video. Had a band playing some music, and I'm sure it was some hit that most people would recognize, but not I.
I honestly have no idea.
That may be a question for your dad. He may have plugged that in. It was just nice. I mean, it was just nice, brief accompaniment music, but it helps the people if they learn. And you did this. You did this Kickstarter video. We talked about doing it with. Where are my notes? I've got half of that part written, but yeah. Who shot it for you? Or you just set up the camera on the tripod?
The video for the first Kickstarter campaign?
For the first Kickstarter, and basically it had shots of you in China and that sort of thing, and shots of the cups, but it also had shots of you sitting on a couch talking to the camera, and of your dad sitting on a couch and talking to the camera at certain points. In your living room, I take it. So he just sort of set it up and ran it. Yeah, it's like setting a time or just get it going and editing. And he edited the thing once it was done, right?
Yeah.
So, there's a 30. How long did it take? And just about this time, the Trib came calling. We talked about that. The Tribune person. When the person came, you were just finishing putting together the Kickstarter. You hadn't put it up yet on the internet, if I have it straight. These were sort of simultaneous, and the story appeared. If I recall, your kicks. Sorry, these little details are annoying, I know for you, but the Kickstarter campaign, if I recall, it was like October 12th. It started off. It was up on the internet, and her story was dated the 14th. So you were still preparing the Kickstarter when you got the word that the Trib was interested in talking to you, right?
Yeah.
And how long did it take from the moment Kickstarters run for 30 days, a standard one, and you had it up for 30 days with a goal, which you exceeded. But how long, was it a long agonizing wait, or was there a sign pretty early that, hey, bang, people are really responding to this? I mean, did it happen over a lot of time, or did you have a pretty good idea it was going to work out once it was up and people started pledging?
I honestly had no idea what was going to happen.
You sort of left that. But I mean, once it was up, did you like look at it every day to see if the money was coming in or anything like that?
I didn't look at it every day. I know my dad definitely did, but I didn't look at it every day because at the time I didn't have any sort of electronics that belonged to me. And
well, at one point, you sort of left that. I mean, you did certain things. You were sort of like the CEO, and he was the CFO and the COO, to use corporate terms, the financial officer and the operating officer, and you're the chief executive officer. But he was keeping an eye on it. At some point, he must have come to you and said, hey, "This is working out. People are really pouring in." Did you say something like that to you at some point?
He did update me, he did give me updates, pretty regularly.
Just like the amount of money that had been pledged, that sort of thing? What do? You sat down to supper and he said, we're up to 3,000, or that kind of thing?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sort of.
Pardon me?
Yeah, sort of.
And that reminds me, talking about your roles, there's a preface, your father, a different preface or forward from the one we have in the current draft. Your father sent and that I tightened and sent back. Have you looked at it? Is it okay with you? Pardon me?
I'm sorry, what did you say?
Have you looked at, there's a new preface that your father sent to me by you. Have you looked at it?
Yeah, I have.
And I sent back a version that was almost the same. I just basically tightened it up and messed with a little pronoun agreement. And that's okay with you? I'm just wait. I sent it back to see if it was okay, and I'm just waiting to plug it in. I just need words. It's okay to plug that in instead of the other one. But okay. And then, there must have been. What happened the very moment? Do you remember over the 30 days how long it took to reach the goal? Did it take 22 days, or a couple of weeks? You would remember specific amounts of days. But did it take halfway through the period, or did it take the whole period to get up to the desired amount?
I don't really remember our original time stamp. I don't really remember it.
Okay, because you couldn't order until you hit your goal, right?
Yeah.
But the goal was hit. There must have been a moment where he said, "Lily, we did it. We got the money. We can go ahead and order."
Yeah.
You remember when that was? Was it over dinner, or was it picking you up from school, or you remember the moment you heard that it was time to move forward to the next step?
I really don't remember.
Now, any of these things, the human memory is a strange thing. My son's been teaching that. One of his majors at college was neuroscience, so he's teaching me how my brain works. But when you think about something and you've thought about various questions asked, sometimes the answer pops into your head later in the day or even during the week. And if it does, if you could drop me an email, if something does occur to you that you couldn't remember today, it's helpful. Everything can be remembered over time. Realizing it's a very hard thing to ask what was, specific memories from 4 years ago, that sort of thing, and that's very tough. We go to, and we're going to skip way ahead to visit to the White House. How did you find out you were going to go to the White House?
I came home from school, and I went into the living room where my mom was sitting after I let myself in, and my mom, she just told me, "You're going to the White House."
That came as a bit of a surprise, did it not?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I was like, really? Are you serious? Are you serious?
I'm curious, did the White House send a letter to your family or call you up, or do you know how you received word, your mom or dad?
As far as I know, I think my mom got the news over email, as far as I can remember.
That you were invited to the science fair as one of the honored guests.
Yeah.
And did that mean you had to, science fairs usually have exhibits of a kind. Did you have to put together an exhibit?
Yeah. Basically,
or a poster, or, how do you, you have the cups, of course. That was the exhibit, I take it.
Yeah, we had to buy this huge, trifold thing. And
Pardon me?
we had to figure out, what we were going to put on there, and so it was kind of there was some pictures of my grandpa and I on one side, and then there was the making of it, and then there was computer made pictures, and then on the very top there's a timeline of what happened, and we didn't print them out, and they didn't print all of the pictures and captions and everything out until literally the day we got to DC.
Oh my goodness! Oh, by the way, how did that work? You had an invitation. Was it way in advance, 2 months in advance, or was it a week in advance, or how much time did you have to think about what you're going to do?
I think it was maybe a month in advance.
So you had to scramble, and this is about when? I don't have those notes in front of me. I'm sorry. This was during the school year. Did you have to take time off from school?
No, this was over spring break.
So you did not have to take day off from school.
Yeah.
Well, your school, I'm sure, has its own science fair. What did your teachers think when you did you participate in your school science fair? Most schools have them.
Oh, I never did.
Never did that. Just you had to settle for the White House. Huh? Did you mention your teachers in some offhand way that, by the way, I have to head for the White House? I was at this White House Science Fair. What did your science teachers think of that?
Well, I told my science teacher at the time, and she, and then actually, I told her after spring break, but she found out, I told her that I met Bill Nye and I got interviewed by him, and she was ecstatic.
I'm a big fan of Bill Nye. I envy your having met him. Did you give a report at your school on your trip to the science fair? I would think a teacher said you should give a report to your class or something like that.
Yeah, no. I think I think a lot of them offered, but I just said no because I didn't want to.
Okay, well, you made your presentation to the White House. Well, had you ever been to Washington, D.C. before?
Yeah, I actually have, but it was for vacation.
Well, what do you think of that town?
Oh yeah, it's really cool. The time that I went for vacation, we went to see like the Spy Museum and yeah.
Did you see? A lot of people on vacation who go to Washington D.C. take the White House tour? Did you do that?
No, we didn't do that. We took a picture in front of it.
Little knowing that you'd be a guest at some point in the future. Did you see any of the other? I mean, you can't avoid seeing the Washington Monument. Did you see the Lincoln Monument Memorial?
Yeah, when I went on vacation, I did, but
That's I'm talking about your vacation trip first. Yeah, I'm just curious what you had seen on your vacation when you were in Washington.
We spent actually like we spent a lot of time. So we went. So my dad and I, my friend's dad and his two daughters went with us. We got there on train, so we spent the night on a train, and
Would you like the train? Would you rather fly?
What?
Do you like the train, or would you rather fly?
I feel like with a train, it's kind of like if you're like with people that you like to talk, that you're like friends with or something. I feel like a train is pretty cool, but like if you're just like kind of like just going there to go there.
Right.
Then,
Well,
like,
it's nice to be able to see the countryside, but see, I'm trying to gather. This book is from you, and so my questions may seem a little irrelevant, which they are sometimes. But I'm trying to get your impressions of things, and what you see, and how it impresses you one way or the other. Do you remember what time of year you were in Washington as a tourist before?
Wow.
The reason I ask, and I've been to Washington a number of times on what I do for a living, but I've never seen. And people always say you should come, and it's in April, I believe. You should come cherry blossom time because Washington's so beautiful when all the cherry blossom trees bloom, cherry trees bloom. But I was just curious if you were there, and I have never been able to see. I have not made that particular trip at that time. I was just curious if it had been cherry blossom time when you were there.
No, I don't believe it was. Well,
you'd probably remember it because I'm told it's pretty spectacular. They got a lot of cherry trees around and really changes the appearance of a lot of the town. Pink blossoms everywhere.
Yeah.
So you've been there. You I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Never mind. Yeah.
So you've been to Washington. You've been there, done that, and suddenly you're going to Washington again, but this time as a guest of the president, because of your accomplishment. I mean, this must have. How did you feel when you heard that this is part of the adventure that was? I keep going back to where you say. You said originally, okay, why not? When your dad said, you want to think of marketing this? And the adventure that started, those three words started. And now suddenly you've been in the media, you've done this and done that, and wow. What was your feeling?
Oh, wow.
Ecstatic? Were you scared? Were you, or all of that?
I was really excited. Like I feel like before like every one of these things, like whether it's like the White House or like speaking, like public speaking, I feel like there's always like a little part of me that's a tiny bit nervous. But like
Sure.
for the most part, I'm just really excited.
Well, yeah, that's just, you have something you want to share, and it's an exciting thing. So, when you came to the White House for the event, loading up, putting together your exhibit at the last minute, you flew in, I take it?
Yeah, we flew in that that time.
And you and your dad?
Yeah.
Oh, just you two. Where'd you stay? Or do you remember? A hotel, or do you remember?
I think it was something like either like the John Adams Hotel, the Adams Hotel. I don't know. I could be wrong, but it was.
Well, there's a fine hotel that's very near to the White House called the Hay Adams.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah.
It's almost across the street from the White House. Does that sound right?
Yeah, that's the reason we chose it because it was close.
Well, that's the hotel I always stayed at when I went there on assignment. I like the Hay Adams, and you are right across. There's Lafayette Park and the White House. So, bang, yeah, it's a fine hotel.
Yeah.
So you arrived the night before. What do? You spend the night before feverishly putting together. Did you arrive the day before, or did you have any extra time?
I believe, yeah, we arrived when it was, we got on the plane like really early in the morning, and then we just like got there probably like around 8 or 9. I don't know, maybe it was like around like check in and check out time.
But this is not the day of the fair. This is the day before.
This is like the day before, like the actual like fair.
So you didn't have time for. I'm just guessing. You didn't have time to do much sightseeing. You just had to get checked in and try to put the exhibit together.
Yeah, we had to print the stuff out at Kinko's and then and then glue it on and like tape it on, and then the day before the actual fair, we the exhibitors got an opportunity to go in and set their stuff up. So yeah, we went there. So yeah, we it was the day before, and we went to like literally like the front of like the White House, like
well, there's kind of a big booth with soldiers there.
Yeah,
a gate.
and we went to the guard gate, and went to a guard gate, and then they let us in, but we didn't know exactly where to actually get into the White House, so we were kind of just wandering around the front lawn of the White House for about a half hour.
Yeah, it's hard to figure. There are different ways to get in. Yeah.
We really didn't know where we were supposed to actually get in, and then a Secret Service officer came up to us and asked us, can I help you? And then they're like, yeah, they're exhibiting at the White House Science Fair. We don't know how to get in. And you'd think that you'd get in through a side entrance or something, but no, it was literally the front, the very front of where the public can see of the White House.
That big porch with the pillars.
Yeah.
Mhm. Well, you go in the front door of the White House, and you see the expanse. Where in the White House was the science fair held?
What?
Do you remember where it was held? Was it in the East Room, or do you remember where they held the?
I believe it was in the South part.
Okay.
but
Well, I can look
I
that
know.
up. I'm sure I
Yeah.
can find that out. But one of the big rooms, that the house has a few big rooms.
Yeah,
Um,
I was. Yeah, I was exhibiting in the China room, so like there was like plates from like George Washington and
oh,
Lincoln.
sure. Yeah, every president has his own China pattern.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Mhm.
That must have been interesting.
Yeah, it was, and I feel like they put us in the China room for a reason. But
You mean? Well, I mean, it's funny. This whole thing started in a place in Jingdezhen, China, where they make china, porcelain, and of course, you belong in the China room. How many other exhibits were in that room? How many other did you? Would they have little tables, individual tables set up, or a long table where everybody set up along it, or how was that laid out?
There were two other exhibitors in the room. I got like this bigger table as we requested because we had a lot of like cups that we needed to like kind of sprawl out and like things. And then there was another girl who was in there, and she was like researching like a better form of like chemotherapy for like cancer patients, and like she had like a small table and like a trifold thing. And then there are these other kids who I believe their thing was a rocket, as far I think, like like a rocket.
The kid had built a rocket. So was this science fairs in schools are competitions? People win ribbons if for the top project. Was this that kind of project, or was this mainly just to honor people who had done things? I mean, were you competitors in that sense, or?
There was we were like the only ones that actually didn't come from like a regional competition, or like it wasn't really a competition. It was more to just like display like what we've done, but like like we were like probably like the only people who didn't come from a competition from a school.
But was there a competition there? Did somebody get a blue ribbon, or is it just to honor the people who had excelled, such as you?
I think it's the second one, yeah, because there wasn't really any like competition there.
No, it was set up. How long did it go on? Once you get set up with it, how long were you standing by that table telling people about it? All afternoon, or how did that work?
Well, what happened is the next day after setting up, we got up like at 6 a.m, and we got.
Oh, so the day you were in the first time, okay, you were just setting up, then you left it and went back to the hotel. Okay. Then the next day.
That was like the day before. So basically, we set up, we went back to the hotel. The actual fair was the next day after setting up. So we went to bed. We got up at like 6 a.m, and we did this, and like we went to the back this time, and we had to go through like 3 different security checkpoints, like an airport basically, except it was a lot more because it was a lot more elaborate. But
more elaborate the second time than the first. I'm surprised. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, like that time, like my dad couldn't even come in with me. I had to like go through everything by myself. So That's when like I started to get a little bit more nervous, just because I was like, oh my gosh, what if I forget what if like I forgot like a couple things, or like what if like I forgot the way to set it up, and but like I ended up doing pretty good, but so we had to go through like 3 different security checkpoints, and like something that my dad and I find like mind-boggling is like at the time I was like 12. Yeah, I was like
Uh-huh.
12 years, and my and basically and like and like and like to get into the White House, if you were 18 or older, you had to have an ID, or 16 or old. I can't remember. Either you had to have an ID for like a certain age. And I often get confused to be older than I really am. So
Mhm.
it's kind of so
Oh,
at
so they wanted to
airports.
see your driver's license or something. Mhm.
Because it's like at airports, like I, because at airports they'll be like, you need to keep your shoes, you need to take off your shoes, and I'm like, oh well, I'm 12, because like you know how like the TSA thing, yeah,
Right.
but, like, and so they'll just be like, all right, whatever. Um, so like, but the thing is that we kind of like just kind of thought that like they'd be a little bit more strict when it came to like the White House, but like I told them I'm 12, and then they were just like, oh, okay, go through.
And they didn't make you take your shoes off.
No, they didn't. But yeah, actually, at the last security checkpoint, it was like a conveyor belt, so it was kind of like an airport. They made everybody
Oh.
take their shoes because they knew like probably half of us were not old enough to have an ID. So yeah.
Oh, so you had to
But
put your shoes on the conveyor belt.
yeah, so I did. And there's this one kid like who like had like this like rolled up like poster, and like the poster set off like the metal detector, and like we were kind of
Oh.
just stuck there for like an hour. So but I think they said it was like something like was in the paint like that he used that like just set it off. So, and like he obviously had no idea because he looked mortified. So um so we were just kind of stuck there for about an hour, but they just let him through. So yeah, so when I got in there, I found my way around, and there were and so we kind of so I set up my stuff, and then they took us into this room where the president has meetings with like leaders of other countries, and like where and then we're like and then we're like Sasha and and like Malia go like come back from the school, like, and like we have like breakfast or like lunch, like brunch, I guess, even though it was just kind of like a bento box type thing. But um we had like a lunch there, and like there was like this guy who was just like basically like telling us what to do if like the president wants to like come and like if like the president goes in for like a handshake, and like it just be like and so and then he's like, you'll know when the president comes, because there will usually be a lot of cameras
Oh
for
yeah.
no reason, like just a lot of cameras with a guy. So um so yeah, they were kind of just like he was kind of just like coaching us, like, this is what you're gonna do if this does happen. So after we ate like our lunch, we go to take a picture, like the giant group picture. I'm sure my dad probably sent it to you. It's like the giant group picture of like the president, like, by it.
Mhm.
And and so after that, we presented for a little bit. I met some senators. I again met Bill Nye, which is really cool. And then we we went into the place where he gives the speeches. And
you say you were meeting some senators, and there were dignitaries at a thing like this. Anybody you recognized?
Not at all.
You just knew they were important because they were there.
I knew they were important people. So, well, I mean, like, there's like the chairman of Google was there, even though I didn't exactly know what he looked like. There was, yeah, but like I knew there was like some very important people there, so I kind of just like gave it all I had.
Of course. Yeah. Well, yeah.
It ended like.
And what? I'm sorry, silly question. What did they serve you for lunch? Do you remember?
Like a sandwich, chips, and piece of fruit and a cookie.
Okay. Yeah. Just curious. And so you were prepared, and then people came into the room, and they were meeting with you. Were they just brief meetings, or were you seated and they spoke, or how did that work?
Well, I mean, what happened? Well, I mean, there was like this, there's like this giant table. So, it was kind of like, yeah. So, there's just like this giant table, and so there would be like some people would just come into the room and like kind of make like a circle around, and like I would like give them like the entire story and like why I did this and blah blah blah, and then like yeah.
This is in the China room?
Yeah, this is in the China room.
So people came in and you told them the story. About how many? Do you know? I can look that up too. But do you know about how many exhibits or people there were giving or having exhibits at that day?
Geez. Probably. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say, like, I'm gonna say maybe honestly, like, maybe 70. You might have to check with my dad.
That's what I would have guessed, somewhere between 50 and 100. Yeah, and it's a very select crew.
Huh?
Did you make any friends there that you've stayed in contact with, or was it too hustle bustle to get to know anybody?
I did get to know one girl because she lives in, I believe, either Schaumburg or Libertyville. So yeah, and we were like on like WGN, like two like Chicagoland teens like get honored at the White House Science Fair. So and we've heard about each other, and and like after that we've like spoken at like the same event, just at like different times. So yeah.
Does I've seen so many pictures. Does a picture of you with your science exhibit exist?
Yeah, my dad probably has that.
Okay, but not at the White House because they wouldn't let him in.
He took a picture like after, like everybody left.
Oh. Yeah, I'm guessing the security was so high because everybody was there at once, and a lot of people were coming in. It was a big crowd, so that makes things touchier for security guys than normal traffic. And did the president come through at all, or in the main room, or when did you see him?
I saw him when we took the picture, so it was kind of funny because like they like lined us up like on like I guess like bleachers and we were like all kind of like on the edge of our seats like when's it gonna come and then there'd just be like a few people like in suits kind of walk by that look vaguely like him like from afar, so we were like, oh my god, is that him? No, wait, it's not. Okay. And then this is in
the big room.
Huh?
This is in the big room where everybody was.
This was like sort of like outside of the big room. So this is like before the actual so it's like before like the fair started. So like this was like when we were like eating and everything. But this is like after we ate, and then we went outside to take around some bleachers, so we were kind of.
Picture. Okay, and that's when the president came by.
Hmm?
Well, what did you think when you saw him for the first time in the flesh?
I was. The first thing I thought was like, wow, he is very tall.
Yeah, he's a tall guy.
He is very tall in person. And second was like, I can't believe I'm here. What is this? Oh my God. So I was like sort of freaking out, like a lot, as everybody was.
Oh, sure. And there were too many of you to shake hands or anything like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the day is done. It must have been. Yeah, he is a tall guy. He's about 6'1", if I recall. But you must have been exhausted. Was your father? What did you do after the thing? Was your father able to come in and help you take everything down, or did you just have to come out and meet him on the outside or at the hotel, or how'd that work?
Yeah, Andy was able to come in and like help me like deconstruct everything. But what we did after is we packed everything up, and I sat for a very long time. And then we went to a restaurant to get some food. And then I think we just got in like an Uber or a cab and like either dropped off our bags because we were gonna leave that day, or I can't remember whether we just dropped off our bags and like kind of just walked around, or if we just went directly to the airport. You might have to ask my dad that.
Yeah, that's fine. He's just, putting together this draft, we're going to end up, we've been adding things and changing things already, but the point will come in a couple of months that we'll have a basic draft done, and then it'll be time. It's a laborious process to go back and look over it and say, you left this out, or we should put this in, or we should take that out. And you make adjustments right up until the final. Till the final moment it's done. You're always like the cups are fine. I would be, if I were you, I would have been tempted. I was in the China room. I would have been tempted to leave a porcelain kangaroo cup in one of the cabinets.
I think
I take it you weren't tempted to do that.
Yeah, So, actually what ended up happening is when we were packing them up, because we made like a cup with the presidential seal on it, we gave it to like a young intern who was kind of like, oh, I don't know if we can take it, but I'll see. And then she brings like somebody who's been like working there for a while, and he's like, oh yeah, sure, we'll take it. So we don't know where that cup is right now, but
well, I'm sure they have it, and I'll tell you what, I'll find out. Whether the president receives gifts, dignitaries come and present him with a snuff box or a statue or whatever as a token, and it's always a tricky business because the Constitution says the president may not accept gifts.
Yeah.
And so if you gave him something, he would immediately donate it to the government. As far as the technical ownership is concerned, and then it would either be put on exhibit or placed in wherever. And it's silly, but you can't hand the president a gift because suddenly you're creating a federal case. You have to register it properly and do all kinds. And I'm sure that's what they did. But there may be a way I can find out. Do some of my own reporting. And then you flew back, and what'd your dad, he must have been filled with questions when you came out of the White House.
Well, Well,
By
my
the way,
dad was
I'm sorry to interrupt and change the chain of thought, but did you see the First Lady? Was she there that day?
no, I did not see the First Lady, although I really would have liked to.
No, she's a terrific person.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, go on. Your father must have been filled with questions.
So my dad, so everybody's parents, they were like in they were like in this auditorium, and they were like watching like every interview. So and like the president's speech, but he didn't really get to see like me like talking to anybody. So so like I just he didn't really have a lot of questions, because like I feel like at that because like I feel like because like at that moment we've been doing it for like so many times, telling the story. I feel like he just kind of like known what I was going to say. But yeah, and I was extremely tired by the end of it. I took a very long nap.
I imagine, yeah, at that point you'd made into the process a bit. I'm jumping ahead with this. It's funny. And you must have had kind of a set piece, a presentation to give. If suddenly you're asked to address a group somewhere, you kind of knew what to say about how the project came about, what it is, etc.
Yeah.
Do I guess right? I guess right. With all the excitements that came after you said, okay, why not? This must rank, CNN and various, other things. This must have been, I'm guessing, was this the best of them? Trip to the White House, or just one of the best?
It was definitely it was definitely one of the best events, if not the best.
Yeah, I would, just think. It's wonderful to be on CNN or be interviewed and all these various things, but to have the president.
Like the White House is like a whole nother level. Yeah.
It's not a bad little house, is it? Yeah, it's a fine house.
Yeah.
And it's just always interesting to think of what happened in that place. A lot has occurred in that place over the almost 200 years almost. But do that. Well, I'm going on, and again, if you remember anything that. Do you remember what your dad asked when you first saw him and he came out of the White House? Did he just say, how was it, or what happened? Or do you remember anything about the conversation that happened afterward?
Yeah, I remember after we got out of the White House, and then I remember it was either a cab or an Uber. But I remember I was half asleep, but I could still tell what he was saying to me. So he was like, you really put it all out on the field. So I did. I was very tired afterwards.
Well, as you say, you're almost falling asleep in the taxi.
Yep.
By the way, I'm sorry, and you may have gone over it, but I have to go back over the notes when this is done, or when it's transcribed and the tape comes. When your mom told you we were going to the White House, did you remember what she said? Like, it looks like you're going to the White House now, or did you remember her words to tell you that you're going to the White House?
I think she called me into the living room, and so I went to the living room, and she said, and she looked up at me with this smile of you're not gonna believe you're not gonna believe what I'm gonna tell you kind of look. Do you know that look?
Oh yes.
And then she just said, "You're going to the White House."
Well, my goodness. Yeah, that's a wonderful story. I hope we can, again, do not hesitate to either call, you have my number, right, or email. If anything pops into your head or anything that you think ought to be included as we go along that we didn't talk about, whatever. And next Sunday, okay?
Yep.
Okay. I don't want to cut into any activities. I'm pretty flexible, but if this is a good time, then we can resume on next Sunday.
Okay.
Okay. Well, take care of yourself. Get some rest, and I'm enjoying a Coke right now in my kangaroo cup, so I'm happy. Okay. I'll talk to you soon.
All right. You too.